I remember when I first learned to drive, my dad didn't just toss me the keys and say, well, good luck out there on the highway.
Right, that would be a disaster.
Yeah, exactly. It was this whole process. Like first, we were in an empty parking lot, right? And his hand was just kind of hovering over the emergency brake the whole time.
Oh, yeah, the classic parent move.
Yeah. And then, slowly we moved to quiet neighborhood streets and then eventually the highway. But he was always there just giving these tiny corrections until one day I didn't need him in the passenger seat at all. And it turns out that whole process is the foundation of how humanity naturally learns and thrives.
It really is. It's how we master almost everything.
Right. And so today, we're doing a custom deep dive into exactly that. We're looking at the foundations and frameworks of instructional scaffolding and this concept called the zone of proximal development, or ZPD. But before we jump into the science of that, this podcast is sponsored by Embersilk.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, if you need help with AI training or automation or integration or software development, they are your go-to. If you're uncovering where agents could make the most impact for your business or even your personal life, check out embersilk.com for AI needs.
They do great work.
They really do. Okay, let's unpack this because we have this massive testing culture that measures intelligence based entirely on, the solitary genius, like what a person can figure out completely in isolation.
Which is, it's a scientifically flawed premise. It really flips the traditional metric on its head. When you look at Vygotsky's concept of the ZPD, he argues that your true cognitive ceiling isn't just what you can accomplish alone right now.
Right.
The true measure of your intelligence is what you can achieve when you are guided by what he termed a more knowledgeable other.
A more knowledgeable other, or MKO, right?
Exactly.
The solitary genius is basically a myth. Like, to picture the ZPD, I always think of it like jumping into co-op mode in a video game.
Oh, that's a fun way to look at it.
Yeah, you hit a level that's just mathematically impossible for your current character build if you play solo. You're just going to die over and over.
Yeah.
But if a veteran player drops into your session, to guide your positioning or call out the enemy spawns, suddenly you're clearing it with ease.
What's fascinating here is that the co-op analogy works so well for the outcome, but the actual mechanism is a bit more intricate than just, having a stronger player carry you to the finish line.
So they aren't just doing it for you.
Right, exactly. The more knowledgeable other, whether that's a mentor, a colleague, or even just a piece of software, they aren't doing the work for you. What they do is they calibrate the environment. So an impossible task is distilled down into this series of achievable, productive struggles.
Productive struggles, I like that.
Yeah, you are still lifting the weight. They're just adjusting the machine's leverage so you don't, pull a muscle.
Which brings us to Jerome Bruner's concept of instructional scaffolding. I think the instinct, when people hear the word scaffolding in education, they assume it means like hand-holding or spoon-feeding the answers.
Right, lowering the bar.
Yeah, lowering the bar. But if you look at actual physical construction, scaffolding isn't part of the building. It's this temporary external structure that bears the load while the actual load-bearing walls are being built and cured.
That's a perfect way to describe it.
And once the internal structure is strong enough, the scaffolding is systematically removed, right? It fades away.
It does. That temporary nature is the defining feature. And the neurological mechanics of why this works, it really comes down to managing cognitive load.
Okay.
Because human working memory is incredibly limited. We can only actively juggle a few novel variables at one time.
I feel that every day.
Right. We all do. If you drop a novice into a complex problem, say, writing a Python script from scratch, their working memory is instantly overwhelmed by syntax and logic and structure all at the same time. The brain basically hits an error code and clashes.
So how does the scaffolding actually prevent that crash? Like, what is the specific mechanism happening in the brain?
Well, it acts as an external hard drive for their working memory. Take what we call a worked example, like a math problem where all the steps are already solved right there on the page.
You sure? Like in a textbook.
Exactly. By showing the learner the solved steps, you eliminate the cognitive burden of them trying to blindly guess the final goal. Their brain is suddenly freed up to dedicate 100% of its processing power to recognizing the patterns and the relationships between those steps.
Oh, wow.
You've essentially tricked the brain into a state of flow by artificially lowering the noise-to-signal ratio.
You're isolating the exact variable they actually need to learn. And the support system doesn't just have to be a human teacher walking over and, adjusting your grip on a pencil. Here's where it gets really interesting, because we're looking at soft scaffolding, like that human interaction, versus hard scaffolding, which are tools bent into the environment.
Hmm.
And we're moving into an era where the environment itself is the more knowledgeable other.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm thinking specifically about AI and these new adaptive tutoring systems.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, this is where the application becomes incredibly optimistic. Because traditionally, a human teacher, no matter how great they are, they can only provide that real-time contingent scaffolding to maybe one or two students at a time.
Right, there's a bottleneck.
A huge bottleneck.
Yeah.
But now we have intelligent tutoring systems that track not just whether a learner got an answer right, but, how many milliseconds they hesitated before clicking.
Wow, really?
Yeah, or which specific substep caused them to reread a prompt.
So the AI is reading their cognitive load in real time.
Precisely. It dynamically adjusts the scaffolding. It can provide a micro-hint precisely when frustration peaks, or it can fade the support the exact instant it detects mastery. It is democratizing that perfect one-on-one mentorship that used to be the privilege of just the elite.
That's amazing.
Anyone, anywhere can have an infinitely patient expert calibrating their specific zone of proximal development. We are engineering tools to unlock human brilliance at an unprecedented scale.
So what does this all mean? I mean, it proves that we are fundamentally collaborative creatures. We aren't meant to figure out the universe in isolation. And the structural supports we're building today are only going to elevate what the average human mind can accomplish. I hope this deep dive gave you exactly the targeted insights you were looking for on cognitive frameworks today.
It's an exciting time to be learning, that's for sure.
Absolutely. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe to the show. Hey, leave us a 5-star review if you can. It really does help get the word out. Thanks for tuning in.
And I will leave you with this to consider. If individual human beings have a zone of proximal development, a gap between what we can do alone and what we can do with guidance, does humanity as a collective species have one? And as we push the boundaries of progress, what kind of systemic, more knowledgeable other might we be building right now to scaffold our next great leap?
An incredible thought to end on. Until our next deep dive, keep questioning the framework.